Welcome, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of When Leaders Evolve. And I'm more than happy to have a really good friend of mine and someone I really adore for her leadership and for her business womanship in my studio today, Jill Wright. Welcome, Jill. It's really a pleasure to have you here. And I'm just going to introduce you very shortly to the audience so that everyone knows a little bit why you're here. And then I hope we can just dive into our beautiful conversation. Jill is the founder of Executive Shine. She has the America's #1 airport shoeshine company now for 39 years. Can you imagine? Since 1987, she just shared with me. It's really a long time. And her teams are at the Denver International Airport and Charlotte Douglas International Airport. So if you come by one day, please make sure you have a few minutes to stop by at her amazing shop. And she's also the creator of the Shine Experience, breakthrough leadership and team building journey that teaches giving, receiving, trust, and human connection. And her philosophy, powered by love and soul to soul, has shaped as well her company and a movement, we can say now, based on presence, on generosity, emotional intelligence, and service that transforms people. And we were just, as I said, starting to have this beautiful conversation already before we hit the record button, and where I said we have to now record because we're already in the conversation, where she was sharing that she's just now also consulting other companies with their teams and teaching people how to speak from their heart and how to really bring that essence, that frequency into conversation and rather come from that place than thinking too much about the words. So Jill, we're going to speak about all of this in the next maybe half hour. What I want to start this conversation off with you is asking you how you've built this business and the leadership philosophy grounded in love and service. Like, what was the first thing that really inspired you to create Executive Shine and later the Shine Experience as a way to transform people from the inside out? Because I know that this is why you're doing this. You're doing this basically to bring love to the people. So maybe you can share a little bit how it all started and what made you really create these companies.
I started when I was 20 years old. I got the contract to do the airports in Washington, D.C. And I borrowed money from my grandmother and I rented space on someone's couch and I had to survive. So really, I just was doing whatever I needed to do to get enough business. And one of the things that was the biggest thing that I learned was I thought of myself, I was working with Supreme Court justices and senators and all kinds of high level CEOs and business people. And I thought, what could I possibly offer them? They're more advanced than I am. They know more than me. They have higher education, all of these things. And what could I offer? And one of the things that I really learned is that presence was so powerful that there was nowhere where these high level people could go and they could just put their titles aside in the chair next to them and just be seen as a human being. And that was really exciting for me because I was like, oh, wow, they're just like me. They're human beings just like me. They have the same needs. They have the same difficult situations in their life. They have good things, bad things, all of those things. They have heart. And if I can connect with them in that heart, in that place they don't show very many people, in that kind of that secret place that everyone has. If I can connect with them there, if I can see the beauty in them, and if I can reflect that back to them, if I can be a sounding board, I can listen, I can just be present to whatever love looks like for them in the moment. And if I can do that, then I build a relationship that lasts for a lifetime. I still have relationships with the customers that I had almost 40 years ago. It's crazy.
Beautiful. So was there a moment, when you realized what you were just sharing from the experience? I assume it was also a process, but was there a moment or is there a story when you realized that it's not actually about shining shoes and it's really more about, shining the human, shining the soul?
Yes. I if I'm gonna be somewhere all day long, I wanna have a good time. And
Mm.
so when you're looking at feet all day long, you're looking at shoes and you're looking at fun socks. So I used to
Yeah.
recognize the customers who had fun socks. And I used to say to them, "Okay, whoever wears the coolest socks, gets a free shoe shine." And that really unleashed it was just crazy. People would run. I was in Washington, D.C. My location was very near the doorway. So they would run off of the mobile lounge. They would pull their pant legs up to their knees to show me their socks. And they would say, "Do I win? Do I win? Like, I wore these just for you." And I thought to myself, wow,
Oh.
wow, we have really made a difference here. Like, if I can get a Supreme Court justice to get his assistant to go buy cool socks so that he can make my day when he comes to the airport, we really something is really happening. People are really becoming human. And so
Mm.
it was always they would always compete to see who had the coolest socks because they wanted to have fun. And it just was a doorway into connecting with them that they weren't prepared for. They didn't have resistance against that. And it just provided
Mm.
such a connection, and we would build relationship and they would share and, "Oh, and let me tell you what happened this weekend," and all of those things. And I really learned, like, people are starving. They're starving for that, to be seen, just for a human, to be who
Mm.
they are and to be kind of, it's really an unconditional love, to just be
Mm.
respected just for being them. They didn't have to earn my attention. They didn't have to earn presence and listening and all of those things. They just got that. And it
Mm.
was so valuable and something I never ever thought just listening to people would be valuable to them. Like, it would make
Mm.
that big of a difference in their day. That was a big that was really transformational for me to teach me about human nature. And it's the same way
Yeah.
with your employees. It's the same way
Mm.
with your friends. You know, the one who listens to you and makes you feel like everything you're thinking is important, everything that you say matters. Those are the people that you go away from feeling really good. Like,
Yeah.
wow, I really felt seen. I felt cared for. I felt heard.
Mm.
And that's big language now in our culture, to be seen and heard and whatever. But how many people really do it on a daily
Mm.
basis and understand what a difference it makes in someone's life? It's
Yeah,
incredible.
true. Yeah, we learned now that you're not only running your own company, but you're also consulting other companies specifically about team building and helping their employees to find trust and connection. So, how did your understanding of what you learned as a leader running an airport concession company to now teaching other corporate teams and other companies about trust and connection?
What we've focused on is, do they know what excellence is?
Mm.
So creating that experience when I hire someone new, which I haven't done for many, many years now, but when a new person comes in, I would have them bring like a whole bag of shoes, and I would spend several hours with them shining their shoes so that they
Mm.
understood what it was that we did, so they could feel it. So when I'm
Mm.
working with other teams, I have said, do they know what excellence feels like? Have they experienced excellent service so that they understand how to give that from their heart to other people? Have you touched their heart? Do they know what that feels like so they can reproduce that. One of the things I say is love always rolls downhill. You have to embody that first so they understand what it feels like. So then they can in turn pass that same energy on to the people that they're serving. And I think
Yeah.
serving is such a healing opportunity where you can really make yourself vulnerable in service of another person. I think it opens up things in you. I think it's healed me. I think loving people has also healed me. And so one of the things we talked about a little bit before, but where they are serving from, where they are speaking from is where they are touching other people. If they can feel that and really understand that they too can touch people in their own unique way. They're different than me, and that's another thing I teach them is you don't have to be like me. This is like
Mm.
creating flavors of ice cream so that all the customers that come here have the opportunity to choose the flavor that suits them. So they have the opportunity to build a relationship with the person they can relate to the most. And
Mm.
that's what feels good to them. They might not relate to me as well as they do some other guys that want to talk about sports or different things. That's where the door opens to build that connection and build that relationship.
Yeah, beautiful. Would you say that the experience you were just sharing and, speaking from, is that, could you say that for you, love is a business strategy?
Oh, absolutely. It is the business strategy. And I feel like business is just a vehicle that you use to love people.
Mm.
And you don't have to call it that if that doesn't feel comfortable for you, but that's essentially what you're doing.
Mm.
You're serving, you're you're relating, building relationship with your people, teaching them to see the beauty within themselves, and therefore teaching them to see the beauty in other people and the opportunities in every situation and the gifts within every situation, opening up their
Yeah.
perspective so that they they understand what does love look like here in this situation because it
Oh,
varies
beautiful.
all the time with the way what people's needs change, different moments of their life. So you have to be sensitive. And I think what I've experienced is if you speak from your heart and you touch that's where you touch the other person. And I think all people, no matter their income level or education level, have a real hole in their heart that needs to be filled. And
Mm.
people choose to fill it with different things. And to bring it back to your question, for me, business and serving has been able to be a way to minister to other people, to use it
Mm.
as a vehicle to uplift people to and to make money at the same time. I mean,
Mm.
we're doing serving from that place that people feel that we're sincere and authentic, and that alone is something that they don't often receive in their life. And so just that little touch of humanity, that little just a kind gesture. One of the things I'm training these people on is how to give a compliment, how to
Mm.
recognize beauty in something. Wow, I really like the color of your jacket. I mean,
Mm.
simple things, nice
Mm.
glasses. I love the fabric in your shirt. It doesn't matter what it is, but it's such a disarming thing that teaches people are so shocked, like, wow, like you actually noticed something I did? There's something that you recognized about me that you like, and you actually
Mm.
mentioned it? That seems really, really simple, but it can
Yeah,
shift
beautiful.
the energy in someone's whole day. I guarantee you they remember that one thing And when they train themselves to look for the good in every situation, that's a whole energy shift. When you're around
Mm.
people that view the glass half full instead of half empty, it's a perspective
Yeah.
shift that really changes the energy.
Yeah. It very much what you just shared reminds me on this one sentence that I read when I was doing some research. So I want to ask you the question, what does love look like here for the person in front of me? What does that mean in your daily leadership? How do you use that question in your leadership?
It's really an awareness, like tuning in to the person that's in front of you and picking up on, "Hey, something seems a little off. Are you okay? What's going on?"
Mm,
Really tuning in with the customers when they sit down, if they're on the phone, it means being quiet,
mm,
respecting whatever the situation is. And also understanding that some people are really private. So
mm,
sometimes you don't even ask a question and maybe you just touch them and say, I feel you. I see you. And if there's anything you need, I'm here. And
yeah,
the building relationships based on that, where they know that maybe they don't want to talk about it right now, that's an im- that I have respect for them, that they'll talk to me about it when they're ready. And I
yeah,
think that's
beautiful.
important to acknowledge both things.
Yeah, you speaking to awareness, you named it yourself. And for me, that also is sensitivity, when you shared in the beginning already, you might not even notice it so much yourself anymore because you're embodying it so much. But for me, it's very clear that when I listen to you, that you are bringing this awareness and sensitivity into your business and into your leadership and make your people recognize or, like you said, experience it themselves so that they can then replicate it. You just said that you haven't employed someone for a long time. That's because your stuff stays. And maybe you can share a little bit. How do you cultivate this deep loyalty and dedication within your teams?
I think, one, I see them. My manager has been with me since he was 14 years old. He had experienced trauma in his life, and there was a time when he didn't speak at all as a child and then had
Mm,
started speaking again, so he had such a speech impediment, you couldn't even understand him. And
mm,
his father worked for me too, and he was one of the most incredible people in the world, and I still think that. And seeing him and seeing his potential, I sometimes call it developing potential vision, where
mhm,
I saw who he was, even though he wasn't really able to speak. I saw how hard he was trying, how much he cared,
mm,
how much he had a desire to learn and to grow. I think when you are the person that sees the beauty in someone and you really honor it and you bring it out in them and you reflect it back to them so they can see who they really are, and they can see you're
mm,
not that person, you're this amazing human being trapped inside of some type of a situation right now. And if we can bring you out of that and cultivate all of the good in you so that you feel like you're proud of it and you can own
mm,
it. And if you feel proud of yourself for who you have become doing this and working for me, then that's a continuous game, as you know. Like, we continue to grow. We thought it was over, like in our 40s. Maybe I've learned enough, or even in my 50s now, I'm 59. I'm like, it's still going.
yeah.
You bring out the beauty in them. When you're the person that does that, they want to continue to do that. They want to continue to grow. They want to continue to be the best person they can be so that they can
Mm,
feel honored and respected and seen, and they feel like there's still more to go. Now, I've also had people that have left and created their own business that I'm so proud of, not in the
mm,
shoe shine business, but they
Mm.
operate with the same principles, and they've told me, like, "I took what you taught me and I'm taking it in now I do mirrors and windows, and I operate with that same principle. And my business has been successful because, of what you've taught me, and I'm forever grateful for that." And that just makes me cry because what I did to survive. I didn't do it because I thought I'm going to be some business genius. I did it because you just learn things incrementally. People teach you about life and they teach you about themselves, and you try things that work, and
Mm,
you ask people advice and you honor people and you see their response. And that's what I think is the biggest. You're just always learning, but it's so satisfying when you see people respond in such a positive way and you think, wow, I I didn't know that I could touch you in that way. And
mm.
I think they stay when that happens. So they've been
Beautiful.
there, we've been in Denver for gonna be March 13th of '96 is our 30-year anniversary in Denver
Mm.
Airport.
Yeah, wow.
Touched a lot of people.
Soul to soul. Now you're working also as a consultant and guiding teams in other companies. How do you introduce love and vulnerability and presence to those teams who very often are so disconnected from themselves and each other? How do you introduce these concepts or principles to them?
I am it. So I'm
Hmm.
going in and working with them, along with them, and role playing with them and showing them, asking the customers, like, how did you feel? When she said that, and they're like, I was really touched. And
Hmm.
so they need to learn that their smile makes a difference, that
Hmm.
there's power in their presence, that they have the ability to change the trajectory of someone's day, even if it's getting a cup of coffee.
Hmm.
If it's a bad experience, it sends them one direction. And if it's a good experience, it sends them another direction. For them, they need to feel it. They need to be on the other side of the cash register. They need to experience what being cared for is, what good service feels like, what
Hmm.
being seen feels like, what when they speak from their heart, what that is and how they can do it in practice and they can really touch people. And then that also kind of has a twofold thing. It's giving them purpose.
Hmm.
They didn't know that working a pretty simple job. I mean, shoe shine is pretty simple, but they didn't understand that they had the power to really make an impact and really touch the soul of another person. And so
Yeah.
they've got to experience it. So I go in and I'm working with them because it's
Hmm.
something they need to feel and they need to develop it in their own way and come up with their own solutions so that they can own it. Because if
Hmm.
I tell them how much power does that have? Whereas if they come in and they figure it out for themselves and they feel it and they're like, "Hey, that really
Hmm.
does make a difference. That feels pretty good." And if you talk to them about it, how does it feel when someone treats you that way? And give them the
Hmm.
opposite too. How does it
Hmm.
feel? So that they can see themselves. I used to, if someone was on the phone when, like one of my people, I would say, go away and walk towards me and let me show you how that looks to the customer. And then you tell me whether that feels good or not. Does it feel
Hmm.
like you want to serve me? Do you want to take care of me? Or are you more interested in your phone? And the problem is when I'm teaching them, I say to the supervisors and stuff, we came up with a new name. I said, I really don't like the name supervisor. So what do you have ideas of some kind of leader, team leader, something like that? And one of the girls said, we're spirit leaders. And I'm like, genius. That was absolutely brilliant. And so
Hmm.
now she feels really good that she came up with an idea. So it's kind of holding the container for them to create their own unique ways of doing it where they feel their unique ways to serve. And then they own it. And then I don't have to tell them all the time because it becomes part of their character. And that's what we're
Yeah.
building is people with good character.
Specifically for leaders, you were just touching upon it a little bit. Because I'm very interested, this podcast might reach a lot of people who are already leaders and are leading. So what would you say? How does Soul to Soul show leaders a new way to serve?
Well, I think we have to go back to having the awareness, tuning into your team, tuning into if you're experiencing some bad performance, what's underneath that?
Mm,
What's beyond what's causing that? If you have someone who's previously been a top performer on your team, soul to soul means creating the relationship with them where you can see what's underneath the surface, what's really going on. How
mm,
can I support you to get back to where you feel good about your performance? Because if they're not
yeah,
performing well, they don't feel good about it either. It's not like they relish the idea of not being a top performer. Something is in the way. And if you can help them to solve that issue, to talk about it, to deal with whatever it is that's causing that, I think makes a huge difference. And if they can feel like you're on their side, you're not legislating them. You're not
mm,
controlling them and looking over them and saying, you need to do A, B, and C, and you're listening and you're
mm,
supporting them. And sometimes people, sometimes people are best served serving someone else.
mm,
It's very important that you create that culture within your teams so that your teams begin to support themselves, support each
mm,
other. Because they saw you do it, then they'll do it if they're
mm,
inclined to do it. So when you can build that kind of culture that perpetuates that serving each other, one of the things that we say is that we not only serve customers, but we serve each other.
mm,
And honestly, being served is one thing, but when you can make a difference in someone's day and you can serve someone else and you can be a listening ear for them, be a sounding board, do whatever they need, whatever love looks like in that moment for them, you also feel good about what you did that day. I didn't just do my job. I made a difference in somebody's life that day, and that
mm.
makes a huge difference. And
Yeah.
then you have that kind of there's a lot of talk nowadays too about purpose and all of these kinds of things. But you can give them purpose in really simple ways that they can go to bed at night feeling like, I did my job, but I really helped somebody today.
Mm,
And that, I think, evolves to make you have so much more job satisfaction. And when you know that the people that you work with, they're there for you and you're there for them. We're
mm,
a family, we're a team, we support each other. And that's something that you can take to the bank. We don't just care about the business, we care about the people. And I
yeah.
think that that has been the biggest thing that's made a difference in my teams. And also what I've also noticed is when I grow as a person, w- when I'm able to receive, when I'm able to have self-love for myself, I see it shift in my teams.
Mm,
And I think that that's something that leaders really need to keep in mind. Even without speaking, it's something that shifts in the energy
mm,
within your organization when you are able to both give and receive. And when
mm,
you are able to be proud of yourself, it also in a really deep, sincere way, not in a eh, boastful kind of a way. But when you're saying, "You know what? I did my best today," or "I didn't do my best today." and I need your help. I'm not feeling at my I'm feeling a little off and I need some support from you today and understanding what support needs. And when, as a leader, you can be vulnerable for your team, one of the things that I say too is that there is no connection in perfection. So if you
Hmm.
come in and you're the omnipotent leader and you know everything, then there's nowhere for people to connect with you. So you don't have to be a broken mess, but if you give them the opportunities to give something to you, then they feel good about themselves too.
Hmm.
I'm tired. I had a rough night. I was up working on a project and I'm just not my best today. So I could
Hmm.
use some support. And that comes from being self aware of what you need. And then your other leaders also have permission to become aware of what they need. And
Hmm.
therefore, I think that rolls downhill. I think that they can then see it in their teams, understand it, and really be that missing link to performance that helps them to get, to be their best and to put them kind of level up and get them
Hmm.
to the next best.
Is there something that you can give our listeners, one practice that leaders can bring into their work this week or in the next days after they heard this podcast so that they can serve with more love and presence?
I think the practice is presence to take a breath. I heard someone say this and I thought it was absolutely brilliant. Let breath be your first word.
Mm.
So breathe before you speak. Take a moment to feel, to bring your energy, I think, from your head into your heart and say, what does this person in front of me really need right now? How
Mm.
can I make a difference? Yes, we have to achieve all the agenda items, but how can we do it feeling good about ourselves? And how can we do it and have fun?
Mm.
I love having fun and playing. And how can we bring joy into our work? So just being aware ahead of time and letting that breath, that moment to bring your energy into your heart, to think about who am I being in this moment?
Mm.
And it's gonna change all day long. But if you can catch yourself and then, am I proud of this person that I'm being in this moment?
Mm.
I think those are
Thank you.
things
So
that make a big
beautiful.
difference.
When you reflect back the 39 years now, maybe more even, what have these 39 years of serving people taught you about humanity?
It's taught me that we're all in this together and that there isn't anyone out there that has it all figured out. And if they act like they do, they're lying. So we're all
Hmm.
at different stages, but we're all here to help each other. The
Hmm.
saying that we're all here to mirror each other. When you see
Hmm.
things in someone else, what is that showing you about you? What is that teaching you about you? And we're all reflections, and we all have a huge opportunity to learn and to bring out the best in each other. And I
Hmm.
think that's the reason for life. Like I said
Hmm.
earlier, I think business is a way it's a ministry. It's a vehicle that serves people. It's a vehicle to love people. It's a vehicle for growth, for development. And when you do that within your organization, no one wants to leave because they have too much fun. They're cared about too much. They have the opportunity to make unlimited money, with however much they want to work. And they have the opportunity to have the satisfaction that comes from really touching people.
Hmm.
And I think that that gives their life meaning. And it's more important than money.
Hmm.
Money at a certain point becomes, it's just an instrument. But what really matters is the energy that's exchanged between people. And I think business gives you an opportunity to do that in ways you never thought you could.
Hmm.
And it's fun. I think business is fun.
I'm so happy you're having fun for these 40 years, just continuing and expanding. And it's really amazing to see how, from this one little business, it has grown into this movement, into this beautiful, powerful inspiration for so many others and continues to be. When you hear when leaders evolve, the world changes, what feels true to you in that sentence?
I love that sentence because I feel like that's the way the world is going to change is as leaders evolve. So the more that you can evolve yourself, that impacts your team. And as your team evolves, that impacts the rest of the people that you're serving, that serves your clients, your customers, your passengers. It's evolving touches people all the way through the system. And I
Mm.
think that's the only way we're going to grow together and make an impact in the world is to choose to evolve and go beyond and go next level and serve in ways that develop people that we didn't even know were possible.
Beautiful. Is there anything else, Jill, you want to share with our audience out there before we close this beautiful conversation?
I think the energy of evolving, of growth, of loving your people, I think that's contagious. I think when you embody excellence, when you embody self-awareness, caring,
Mm.
empathy, that touches people in ways that you don't even recognize, and you don't even need to speak it because the energy that people feel from being around you makes them want to do better
Mm.
and touch
Beautiful.
more people.
Yes. Thank you so much for doing what you're doing and being such a lighthouse for so many years, for so many people, and really caring, deeply caring, bringing all your heart and your soul into the world every day. Thank you for
Oh,
coming to my little podcast show. Thank you for
I
sharing
love
your
it.
philosophy. Yeah, it was beautiful to speak to you. I mean, we know each other for so many years, and still I have learned so much again about you today. So, yeah, thank you, thank you, thank you for being here.
Oh,
And
thank
I
you.
hope many people who listen to this will come by in Denver just look for your shop and show their new socks and play that game of winning with the most craziest socks. So thank you
I
so much
love
for
it.
bringing love.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I love what you're doing. You are such a beautiful soul with such a gift, and I'm so glad that you're sharing it with the world.
Thank you, dear. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to everyone who's listening. And we love to hear your feedback, your comments. So let us know what you think about all of these beautiful shares from Jill and myself. And yeah, talk to you soon, Jill. Thank you for being here.
All right. Thank you so much. I love you.